Yo, what up fellow disc golfers, Adam with High Action Disc Golf. Today I've got a review for you of the Discraft Reaper. If you like videos like this, please remember to like and subscribe. And leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of videos like this, and let me know what other kind of content you guys would like to see. With that being said, let's get out here, throw it on a few shot shapes, and see how it flies. So the Reaper is an overstable fairway driver by Discraft. It was actually discontinued back in 2012, and here recently they had a short reissue in their swirly ESP plastic, so I snagged one. The flight numbers for the Reaper are a speed of 8, glide of 3, turn of 0, and fade of 4, so nice consistent overstable fairway driver. The wing shape is pretty aggressive. I say very similar to a Raptor, but the difference is it's actually a tad bit deeper than a Raptor. I would say that the depth feels closer to a Felon, in my opinion, or possibly a Firebird. I think the rim actually feels very similar to a Firebird overall, but I don't think it's quite as flat as that. I'd say that it has just a little bit more of an edge up there on the top of the wing. An interesting thing to note as well, I've never felt this from any other disc by Discraft. Just underneath the top of the flight plate, and I'll try to run some B-roll for you guys, there's actually a crosshatch pattern here, about the width of where your fingers would go. And on the opposite side of that, where it says Discraft made in US, the texture of that is also raised more than it usually is on other discs. And I don't think that's by mistake, because it's about the same width as that crosshatch pattern across from it. And I believe that this is a textured grip to actually hold onto. And it feels really good in the hand. If I grab onto that crosshatched pattern there or the text on the opposite side, it feels like a really positive grab, and it feels like my fingers are able to dig into that really well. So I kind of like that. It feels really good. So I've got a few other discs that we'll compare it to today. Some of my more overstable stuff as far as fairway drivers, and one thrown in there just for fun. Let's get out here throwing on a few different shapes, and we'll see how it holds up to some of my other discs. So I brought with me a nice little stack of some of my more overstable stuff in the category of fairway drivers. Starting off, I've got a Dynamic Disc Lucid Felon, a Discraft Big Z Raptor. I've also got a 2021 Ledgestone Glow Z Raptor. I've got a very overstable Dynamic Disc Lucid X Getaway. And thrown in here just for fun, my Discmania Glow C-Line PD3. All these very overstable discs, most of them in the fairway driver category. The PD3 is technically a distance driver, but you could kind of put it in between, honestly. I just threw that one in there for fun. So let's see how they stack up against the Raptor, and let's throw these out on some shot shapes. So starting off, I'm going to try to release each one of these flat with probably about 70 to 75% power. Just a good, nice, consistent speed, and try to rip them out there as flat as possible, see if I get any kind of turn out of them, and see how much overstability they all have. For reference, I've got a very light tailwind, probably gusting up to maybe 7 to 8 miles per hour. Not super heavy wind, just a very light breeze. But throwing into that headwind, if it gusts up a little bit, we'll see if it tries to make any of them turn. I'm going to start off with the Lucid Felon. Now let's throw that Reaper and see how it compares to everything. So as you can see there, each one of them flies very much similar. The Felon is just a tad bit flippier. I've beat that one in a little bit, so it actually got a tiny bit of turn out of it, but still a very consistent finish at the end. But you can see the Reaper is very similar to the Raptor. I'd say the Raptor pushes forward a little bit more, but each one of them has about the same stability. The Glow Raptor I threw out on a little bit of Hyzer, but it actually stacks up next to the Big Z almost identical. There's not a whole lot of difference in flight between those two. So I'd say the Big Z is the best one to compare to. I also had a little bit of an early release with the PD3, but that one's thrown in there just for fun anyway. That disc is super overstable. But you can see the Reaper likes to push nice and flat. Doesn't really want to get much flex out of it, especially at a nice, smooth, consistent, about 70 to 75% power, and then a strong, consistent fade at the end. Now I'm going to throw each one of them out there on a Hyzer line, try to hit it about 40-45% angle, and try to really hit them all with the same release and close to the same height. Hopefully I managed to do that. And I'm going to try to power up a little bit, probably about 80 to 85% power. Give it a good rip, see if any of them try to flip over for me at all. Hit that one a touch low, I'll try to correct with the Glow Raptor. You can see that getaway is super stable. And now let's give the Reaper a rip. So as you can see there, I would say that the Reaper probably falls somewhere between my Felon and my Raptor. The Felon is a little more beat in, so it tends to want to flip up. It flipped up almost to flat, still had a consistent finish, while the Raptor, either one, really has a strong, consistent Hyzer angle and doesn't want to turn at all. It just wants to hold that angle and get to the ground. The Reaper, when I threw it, it turned just a little bit. It never turned up to flat, but it definitely turned just a little bit and pushed a tad straighter than that Raptor. Also, as you can see, that Lucid X Getaway is insanely stable compared to some other ones that I've used out there before. So that one holds a pretty strong Hyzer angle as well. Now I'm going to pick each one of them up and put them on a flex line, put a little ante on them, and see how hard they want to fight out of it. Now I'm going to take each one of them and throw them out there on an Anheuser angle and flex them over and see how much they want to hold that Anheuser angle and see how that overstability wants to pull them out. I'm also going to try to keep about the same amount of power so I can really try to force that Anheuser and really see just how strong the overstability is. I'll also tell you that the Anheuser is still the shot that I'm really trying to work on, so I'm going to try to release these on as close to the same angle and height as I possibly can, but I can't make any promises. Just bear with me. Put a touch more height on that one. I'll try to stay consistent to that. Did not get as much Anheuser as I wanted on that one. Thankfully, that's one of the other Raptors. Blows my mind every time how overstable that getaway is. Ladies and gents, I absolutely turfed that. Sorry. Time for the Reaper. Let's put this on the right angle. So as you can see, my Hyzer angle needs a lot of work. But I ripped over on the Reaper just a little bit, but you can still see I hit the right angle. I just kind of ripped over on it a little bit more. But honestly, the stability is very similar to how I said in the Hyzer angle. It's kind of right between the Felon and the Raptor. The Raptor, very overstable. It wants to flex out of that if you put enough height on it. The Felon, on the other hand, like I said, I've beat in a little bit, so it kind of holds that. And if I put enough height on it, it'll pan out and hit flat, but doesn't usually fight out of it unless I put a lot of height up on it. And of course, I totally turfed that PD3. My bad. So there you have it, guys. There is my review and test flight of the Discraft Reaper. So many companies make a disc just like this. Dynamic Disc, Prodigy, Discraft, Innova, Discmania, all of them make discs so similar to this. So in my opinion, it comes down to personal feel overall. The Reaper is a nice, consistent, overstable disc for sure. And in my opinion, I really hope that Discraft brings this back as a regular mold, because I love that crosshatch pattern under there, and I also love just a little bit more depth in that Raptor. If they start making these more often, honestly, this disc will probably bump my Raptor out as my go-to, and I'll grab a few different ones, especially if they start making some different plastics. I really hope they do. But I really love this disc. Nice and overstable, good for some headwinds. If it's ripping really, really hard, I'd suggest disking up to something just a little bit more stable. But if you want a nice overstable disc to handle a light breeze or to get around a corner really well, the Discraft Reaper is perfect. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, please remember to like and subscribe. This is Adam with High Action Disc Golf, and I'll catch you on the high road. Today I'm bringing you a disc review of the Discraft Reaper overstable fairway driver. Let's get out there and see how it flies. Recently, they had a short reissue of it in their ESP Swirl plastic, so I picked up one. The flight numbers for the Reaper. So this is my review and